Marcus Chen wiped the sweat from his forehead as he surveyed the massive excavation site on Kepler 442b. The red sun cast long shadows across the alien landscape, where towering crystalline formations jutted from the purple soil like frozen lightning. His construction crew of humans and various alien species worked tirelessly to establish the new mining operation that would extract the rare quantum crystals buried deep beneath the planet's surface. The Galactic Empress Zarathul had personally commissioned this project. Her vast empire spanning 12 solar systems needed these crystals to power the next generation of faster-than-light drives. As the appointed human foreman, Marcus carried the weight of representing his entire species in this crucial undertaking. The other alien races in the galaxy still viewed humans as newcomers, barely worthy of major contracts despite their proven track record. Foreman Chen, called Crix, his Velthari supervisor. The insectoid alien's forearms gestured frantically toward the eastern excavation zone. The deep scanners are detecting something unusual. The readings don't match any known mineral formations. Marcus grabbed his portable scanner and followed Crix across the construction site. Heavy machinery operated by various species continued their work around them. The Thorgani used their natural rock-crushing abilities to break apart the larger formations, while the nimble Pixari climbed impossible heights to install support structures. Humans operated the precision equipment, their steady hands and quick thinking making them invaluable for delicate operations. The eastern zone buzzed with activity as workers gathered around a massive drilling rig. The machine had stopped its descent after hitting something unexpected at nearly 800 meters below the surface. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the expedition's chief archaeologist, knelt beside a collection of strange metallic fragments that the drill had brought up. "Marcus, you need to see this," Dr. Tanaka said, holding up a piece of what looked like ancient armor plating. The metal gleamed with an unusual blue-green patina that seemed to shift and move in the light. "These fragments are made from an alloy we've never encountered. The molecular structure suggests technology far more advanced than anything in current galactic civilization." Crix's antennae twitched nervously. The Velthari archives contain no records of previous settlements on this planet. According to our surveys, Kepler 442b has been uninhabited for millions of years. Marcus examined the fragment more closely. Strange symbols were etched into its surface, forming patterns that seemed almost familiar, yet utterly alien. The metal felt warm to the touch, despite being buried in the cold depths of the planet. "How deep did the scanner penetrate before we hit this obstruction?" "Nearly 30 meters of solid material," replied Jana, the human drill operator. "Whatever's down there is big. Really big. And it's definitely artificial." The implications sent a chill through the gathered workers. Ancient alien ruins were rare discoveries that often led to significant archaeological finds. But they also meant potential delays in the mining operation. The Empress had set strict deadlines for crystal extraction, and any deviation from the schedule could result in severe penalties for the entire crew. Marcus made a decision that would change everything. "We're going to excavate around the obstruction. Carefully. Dr. Tanaka, I want full archaeological protocols in place. We document everything before we move anything." "The Empress expects crystal production to begin within 2 weeks, Crix reminded him. "Diverting resources to archaeological investigation could jeopardize our contract, and ignoring a potentially significant discovery could jeopardize something far more important." Marcus replied firmly. "We do this right. We do this right. We do this right." Over the next 3 days, the excavation team worked with unprecedented precision. Human engineers designed specialized equipment to carefully remove soil and rock without damaging whatever lay beneath. The operation resembled a surgical procedure more than a mining expedition, with every movement calculated and documented. As they dug deeper, the true scope of the discovery became apparent. The metallic fragments belonged to what appeared to be a massive containment facility. Its walls constructed from the same mysterious alloy. Ancient symbols covered every surface, and strange conduits ran through the structure like veins in a living organism. "The power readings are off the charts," Dr. Tanaka reported, studying her instruments with amazement. "This facility is still active, after what our carbon dating suggests is over 1,000 years. The energy source is unlike anything in our databases." Marcus descended into the excavated chamber on a safety harness, his headlamp cutting through the darkness. The walls hummed with barely perceptible energy, and the air itself seemed to vibrate with unseen forces. At the center of the chamber stood a massive cylindrical container, easily 10 meters tall and 5 meters in diameter. Its surface was covered in the same shifting blue-green metal, and complex control panels surrounded its base. There are multiple layers of security systems, called down tech specialist Rodriguez from the surface. I count at least 7 different locking mechanisms, each using a different technological approach. Whoever built this really didn't want it opened. As Marcus approached the container, symbols on its surface began to glow with a soft golden light. The response was clearly triggered by his presence, but the meaning remained unclear. He reached out to touch one of the glowing symbols, and suddenly the entire chamber filled with a holographic display. Images flashed before his eyes, showing scenes from an ancient civilization. Tall, elegant beings with elongated limbs and crystalline skin moved through beautiful cities that defied conventional architecture. But the peaceful scenes gave way to chaos and terror as dark shapes attacked their settlements. The attackers moved too quickly for the hologram to clearly show, but their ferocity was unmistakable. The final images showed the construction of the containment facility. The ancient aliens had captured one of their attackers and imprisoned it in the cylinder, sealing it away with every safeguard their advanced technology could provide. The warning was clear, even across the vast gulf of time and species difference. The container held something extremely dangerous. "Marcus, you need to get out of there now, Doctor." Tanaka's voice crackled through his communicator. "The energy readings just spiked. Something inside that container is responding to your presence." But Marcus remained transfixed by the holographic display. The final image showed a creature unlike anything in current galactic records. It stood nearly 3 meters tall on powerful legs, its body covered in what looked like organic armor plating. Most striking were its eyes, which burned with an intelligence that was both alien and terrifyingly familiar. This was no mere beast, but a thinking predator of incredible capability. The hologram faded, leaving Marcus alone with the humming container. He could swear he heard something moving inside, a soft scraping sound that suggested the creature within was very much alive. The ancient containment systems had preserved it across the centuries, waiting for someone to discover its prison. Foreman Chen. "The Empress's ship has just entered the system," Crix announced through the communicator. "She's demanding an immediate progress report on crystal extraction." How do we explain the delay? Marcus stared at the container, his mind racing through possibilities. He could seal the chamber and continue with the mining operation, leaving the ancient warning heeded. But the scientist in him recognized this as potentially the most significant discovery in galactic history. And the human in him couldn't shake the feeling that this creature, this ancient enemy of a lost civilization, might hold keys to understanding threats that current galactic society couldn't even imagine. The sound from within the container grew louder, as if the creature inside sensed his presence and was responding to it. Marcus noticed that his proximity caused more symbols to illuminate, creating patterns that seemed almost like a communication attempt. Whatever was trapped inside possessed intelligence far beyond that of a simple predator. "I'm coming up," Marcus finally announced, though his decision was far from made. "Prepare a secure communication channel to the Empress's ship. We have something to report that's going to change the nature of this entire operation." As he ascended from the chamber, Marcus couldn't shake the image of those burning eyes from the holographic display. The ancient civilization that had built this prison was clearly more advanced than current galactic society. Yet they had fallen to these creatures. What did that suggest about the thing contained just meters below his feet? The stakes had just become far higher than crystal mining quotas. Marcus found himself holding responsibility not just for his crew and his species' reputation, but potentially for the safety of the entire galaxy. The question now was whether to maintain the ancient prison or risk everything by revealing its contents to the most powerful ruler in known space. Time was running out. The Empress would arrive within hours, expecting progress reports and crystal samples. Instead, she would face a choice that could determine the fate of her empire and every species within it. The Empress's flagship descended through Kepler 442b's atmosphere like a falling star. its massive bulk casting shadows across the excavation site. Marcus watched from the command tent as the ship settled onto the designated landing pad, its advanced gravitic drives barely disturbing the alien soil. Within minutes, a procession of the galaxy's most elite guards emerged, followed by Empress Zarathul herself. Zarathul stood nearly 2.5 meters tall, her crystalline blue skin catching and refracting the red sunlight into prismatic patterns. Her species, the ancient Keldari, had ruled the galaxy for over 3,000 years, through a combination of advanced technology, political cunning, and sheer longevity. At 400 years old, the Empress was considered young by her people's standards, but her tactical mind had proven itself in countless conflicts across the stars. Foreman Chen. Her voice resonated with harmonics that could be felt as much as heard. Your progress reports have been most unusual. My advisors speak of delays and archaeological diversions when I expected crystal production updates. Marcus had spent hours preparing for this moment, but facing the Empress in person drove home just how much was at stake. Not just his career or humanity's standing in galactic society, but potentially the safety of billions of lives across 12 solar systems. Your Majesty, we've discovered something that takes precedence over crystal extraction. An ancient containment facility, built by a civilization that predates current galactic records. Based on our analysis, this discovery could have significant implications for galactic security. The Empress's large, multifaceted eyes studied him intently. Her retinue of advisors whispered among themselves in various alien languages, but she raised a hand for silence. Show me. The journey to the excavation chamber took 20 minutes, during which Marcus briefed the Empress on every detail of their discovery. Dr. Tanaka presented the archaeological evidence while tech specialist Rodriguez explained the advanced technology they'd encountered. By the time they reached the edge of the excavated chamber, even the Empress's normally composed demeanor showed signs of intrigue. The holographic warning system activated when I approached the container, Marcus explained as they prepared to descend into the chamber. It showed us the history of the civilization that built this place and the creature they imprisoned. Creature? The Empress's voice carried a new note of interest. You've made no mention of any living organism in your reports. Because we're not entirely certain it is alive, Your Majesty. The container has maintained perfect environmental controls for over a millennium. Whatever's inside could be in some form of suspended animation. The descent into the chamber proved even more dramatic with the Empress present. Her natural bioluminescence interacted with the ancient alien technology in unexpected ways, causing symbols throughout the chamber to blaze with increased intensity. The container itself began resonating with a low-frequency hum that could be felt through the floor. Remarkable, the Empress breathed, examining the hieroglyphic-covered walls. These symbols show linguistic evolution patterns that suggest this civilization existed for tens of thousands of years before they built this facility. Whatever required such an elaborate prison must have posed an extraordinary threat. As if responding to her words, the container's humming intensified. New symbols appeared on its surface, forming patterns that seemed almost like an attempt at communication. The Empress approached the massive cylinder, her own natural bioelectric field causing even more symbols to illuminate. Your Majesty, Marcus warned. The holographic system showed that these creatures were responsible for the downfall of the civilization that built this place. They were clearly dangerous enough to require this level of containment. But the Empress was already placing her crystalline hand on one of the glowing symbols. The chamber immediately filled with the same holographic display that Marcus had witnessed. But this time the images were clearer and more detailed. The ancient aliens were revealed to be the long-lost Zephyrians, a species known from fragmentary archaeological records but never fully understood. The holographic narrative unfolded with devastating clarity. The Zephyrians had encountered these predatory creatures during their expansion into deep space. Initially dismissing them as mere animals, they learned too late that the creatures possessed tactical intelligence that rivaled their own. The predators had studied Zephyrian technology, learned their weaknesses, and systematically hunted them to near extinction across multiple star systems. They called them the Void Stalkers. The Empress translated. her knowledge of ancient languages allowing her to interpret symbols that had puzzled the human team. Creatures that existed in the darkness between stars, preying on spacefaring civilizations. The Zephyrians managed to capture this one during their final desperate stand. The hologram showed the creature in full detail for the first time. It stood 3 meters tall. Its body covered in adaptive armor plating that could shift from metallic hardness to flexible movement as needed. 6 limbs provided incredible agility, while sensory organs beyond current understanding allowed it to perceive reality across multiple dimensional spectrums. Most unsettling were its eyes, which showed the unmistakable gleam of predatory intelligence. The Zephyrians called it a wolf of the void, the Empress continued. They believed it was a scout or advance hunter for a larger pack. Their final records indicate they chose to imprison it rather than destroy it, hoping that future civilizations might learn from studying it. As the hologram faded, movement from within the container became unmistakable. The creature was not only alive but actively responding to their presence. Sounds emerged from the cylinder that were part growl, part harmonic communication, creating a pattern that suggested intelligence attempting to establish contact. "It knows we're here, Doctor," Tanaka observed, studying her readings. Brain activity scans show complex neural patterns. This isn't just a predator. It's trying to communicate. The Empress studied the container with the calculating gaze that had made her the most feared ruler in galactic history. The Zephyrians were one of the most advanced species ever to exist. If they couldn't destroy this creature, what makes us think we can control it? "Maybe we don't need to control it," Marcus suggested, the idea forming even as he spoke. The holographic records show the Zephyrians trying to fight these creatures with conventional military tactics. But what if there's another approach? The Empress turned her multifaceted gaze on him. "Explain. Humans have a different relationship with predatory species than most galactic civilizations. On Earth, we've successfully domesticated wolves, big cats, even creatures that were originally our competitors and threats. We've learned that intelligence, even predatory intelligence, can sometimes be reasoned with." Crix, who had remained silent during the exchange, finally spoke up. "Foreman Chen, you're suggesting we attempt to communicate with a creature that destroyed an entire civilization. I'm suggesting we try to understand it before we make any decisions about its fate." The Zephyrians saw it as an enemy to be contained. But what if it was simply following its nature? What if there's a way to redirect that nature toward mutual benefit, rather than conflict? The creature's sounds from within the container had evolved into something that resembled a pattern. It was clearly attempting to establish some form of dialogue, responding to the rhythms of their conversation with increasingly complex vocalizations. The Empress moved closer to the container, her hand resting on one of the control panels. The containment field generators are running at only 60% power after 1,000 years. They're failing slowly but inevitably. Within a few more decades, this creature will free itself regardless of our actions. The weight of that revelation settled over the group like a heavy blanket. The ancient prison was not a permanent solution. Whether they acted now or not, the Void Stalker would eventually escape. The question was whether it would emerge to find a galaxy prepared to understand it, or one that would simply become its hunting ground. "What are you proposing, Your Majesty?" Marcus asked. The Empress studied the control panels, her centuries of experience weighing the options. "The Keldari have ruled this galaxy through strength and wisdom for 3 millennia. We've faced extinction events, conquered impossible odds, and integrated dozens of species into our empire. But we've never encountered anything like this." She turned to face Marcus directly. "You humans have earned a reputation for achieving impossible solutions through unconventional thinking. Your species has only been part of galactic society for 50 years. Yet you've already proven yourselves invaluable in situations where traditional approaches fail." The implication was clear. The Empress was considering taking a massive risk based on human judgment and human methods of approaching dangerous situations. It was both an incredible honor and a terrifying responsibility. "I need to understand exactly what we're dealing with," Marcus said. "Full biological scans, behavioral analysis, everything we can learn without compromising the containment field." If we're going to attempt communication, we need to know what we're communicating with. And if your assessment suggests the creature is too dangerous for any form of controlled contact, Marcus met her gaze steadily. Then we find a way to reinforce the containment systems and leave it for future generations to handle. But if there's even a possibility of establishing peaceful contact, we owe it to the galaxy to try. The Empress nodded slowly. Very well, Foreman Chen. You have 3 days to conduct your analysis. At the end of that time, we will make a decision that will affect the fate of every species in my empire. Choose your approach carefully. As the Empress departed for her ship, Marcus found himself alone with the most important decision of his life. The creature in the container continued its attempts at communication, its vocalizations growing more complex and urgent. Whatever intelligence lay behind those ancient eyes was clearly aware that its millennium-long imprisonment was about to end, one way or another. For 2 days and nights, Marcus worked alongside his team to establish communication protocols unlike anything attempted in galactic history. The chamber had been transformed into a sophisticated laboratory where xenobiologists, linguists, and behavioral specialists from multiple species collaborated to understand the ancient predator. Dr. Tanaka had managed to map the creature's neural patterns through the containment field. The brain structure is unlike anything in our databases, she reported during the morning briefing. It shows regions that appear dedicated to spatial reasoning, pattern recognition, and what we can only describe as tactical planning. But there are also areas that suggest capacity for complex social behaviors. Tech specialist Rodriguez had been working around the clock to decode the creature's vocalizations. The sound patterns aren't random. There's definitely a linguistic structure, complete with what appear to be grammatical rules. It's trying to teach us its language by responding to our speech patterns and mimicking our communication attempts. The breakthrough came when Marcus decided to approach the problem from a uniquely human perspective. Instead of trying to establish communication through technology, he positioned himself directly in front of the container and began speaking to the creature as he would to any intelligent being. I know you can understand that we're trying to communicate, he said aloud, his voice carrying clearly in the chamber. You've been alone for 1,000 years, but you're not alone anymore. We're here, and we want to understand you. The response was immediate and startling. The creature's vocalizations shifted to match the rhythm and cadence of human speech. Within minutes, it had begun producing sounds that approximated human phonemes, gradually building towards something resembling words. Hunter, came the first recognizable word from within the container, pronounced with careful precision. Hunter, here. Long time. Long, dark time. The team exchanged glances of amazement. Not only was the creature intelligent enough for language, it was learning human speech with incredible speed. What had taken human children years to develop, this ancient predator was accomplishing in hours. Yes, Hunter, Marcus replied carefully. You are a hunter. We understand that. Can you tell us about your people? Are there others like you? Pack scattered, came the reply, each word clearer than the last. Stars between us. Hunt alone now. Hungry for pack song. Dr. Tanaka leaned forward, fascinated. It's expressing loneliness. This isn't just a predator. It's a social creature that's been isolated from its kind for centuries. Over the next several hours, a remarkable picture emerged. The creature, who called itself Kethvor, was indeed a member of a pack-hunting species that existed in the deep void between stars. They were ancient, possibly older than any current galactic civilization, and they had evolved to survive in the harsh emptiness of interstellar space. Not destroy for pleasure, Kethvor explained, its speech becoming more sophisticated by the hour. Hunt for survival. Zephyrians had what Pack needed. Tried to take. Zephyrians fought. Both sides lost much. What did you need from the Zephyrians? Marcus asked. Energy sources, ship components, knowledge. Pack was dying without proper resources. Zephyrians had abundance but would not share. Thought us mindless beasts. The revelation changed everything. What the Zephyrians had recorded as unprovoked attacks were actually desperate attempts at resource acquisition by a dying species. The Void Stalkers weren't inherently evil. They were simply trying to survive in a galaxy that offered them no place. Your Pack, Marcus continued. Where are they now? Scattered to cold stars. Some dead from hunger. Others sleep in deep void, waiting for signal to gather. Keth Vor was to find new hunting grounds, new sources of what pack needs to live. Empress Zarathul arrived for the final assessment as Marcus was concluding his communication session with Keth Vor. The creature had learned enough human language to engage in complex discussions about everything from stellar navigation to pack social structures. Far from being a mindless predator, it had revealed itself to be a sophisticated intelligence, with goals and motivations that could be understood and potentially negotiated with. Majesty, Keth Vor said when the Empress entered the chamber, somehow recognizing her authority through the containment field. Great Alpha. Keth Vor shows respect to leader of many packs. The Empress studied the container with new eyes. You've achieved remarkable progress, Foreman Chen. But the question remains whether this creature can be trusted outside of containment. Your Majesty, Marcus said carefully, I believe Keth Vor represents an opportunity rather than a threat. Its people are dying in the void between stars. Our galaxy has resources they need, and they possess knowledge and capabilities that could benefit our civilizations. You're suggesting integration rather than imprisonment or destruction. I'm suggesting partnership. Keth Vor's pack has survived in environments that would kill any of our species. They understand void travel, deep space resources, and interstellar phenomena that we've barely begun to study. If we can establish trade relationships rather than viewing them as enemies, everyone benefits. Keth Vor's voice emerged from the container with surprising emotion. Human speaks wisdom. Keth Vor tired of hunting. Tired of running. Pack needs home. Needs purpose beyond survival. Will serve Great Alpha if given chance to prove worth. The Empress approached the control panels, her hands hovering over systems that had contained this ancient predator for a millennium. The risk is enormous. If you're wrong about its intentions, we could be unleashing destruction across the galaxy. Your Majesty, Marcus said. Humans have always believed that calculated risks are necessary for progress. We domesticated wolves that could have killed us. We befriended creatures that were originally our predators. Sometimes the greatest threats become the most valuable allies when you give them a chance to choose a different path. The moment of decision stretched across long seconds. Finally, the Empress began activating the release protocols. We proceed with caution. The creature will be released under strict supervision, with multiple fail-safes in place. Any sign of aggression or deception will result in immediate recontainment. As the ancient systems powered down, the container's surface began to shift and change. Seams appeared in what had seemed like solid metal, and with a soft hiss of escaping atmosphere, the prison that had held Keth Vor for 1,000 years finally opened. The creature that emerged was even more impressive than the holograms had suggested. Keth Vor stood 3 meters tall, its adaptive armor plating shifting between metallic hardness and flexible organic material as it moved. 6 limbs provided incredible grace and balance, while sensory organs beyond human understanding tracked every movement in the chamber. But it was the eyes that captured everyone's attention. Ancient, intelligent, and filled with gratitude rather than malice. This was no mindless beast but a sophisticated being that understood exactly what this moment meant. Keth Vor approached Marcus slowly, its movements careful and non-threatening. Human Marcus, gave Keth Vor voice again. Gave choice. Will not forget. The creature then turned to the Empress, lowering its body in what was clearly a gesture of respect and submission. Great Alpha Zarathul. Keth Vor offers service to your pack. Will prove worth through action. Very well, the Empress replied. You will remain on this world under observation, while we establish protocols for contacting your pack. If this arrangement proves beneficial, we may consider broader integration possibilities. 3 months later, the mining operation on Kepler 442b had become something entirely different. Keth Vor had proven invaluable in identifying quantum crystal deposits that conventional scanning had missed. Its understanding of deep space phenomena had led to improved navigation techniques for long-range exploration vessels. Most importantly, it had successfully contacted other members of its scattered pack, opening negotiations for the first formal alliance between void-dwelling species and galactic civilization. The ancient containment chamber had been converted into a cultural exchange center where void stalker technology merged with galactic science to create innovations that neither species could have achieved alone. Trade agreements were established that provided the pack with energy sources and raw materials in exchange for their expertise in void travel and exotic matter manipulation. Marcus stood in the observation deck of the new facility, watching as human engineers worked alongside Kethvor and 3 other pack members who had responded to the call for peaceful contact. The site would have been unimaginable just months earlier, yet it had become the foundation for a new chapter in galactic history. Your unconventional approach has proven most successful, Foreman Chen, the Empress said, joining him at the observation window. The integration of Voidstalker knowledge has already advanced our understanding of dark matter manipulation by centuries. Thank you, Your Majesty. Though I think the real credit belongs to Kethvor and its pack for choosing cooperation over conflict, when they could have easily chosen otherwise. Below them, Kethvor looked up and raised one limb in what had become its customary greeting. The ancient predator that had once terrorized a civilization had become not just an ally but a friend, proving that even the greatest enemies could become the most valuable partners when approached with wisdom rather than fear. The galaxy had gained not just new allies but a new understanding of what was possible when different species chose trust over suspicion. And at the center of it all was a simple truth that humans had learned long ago on a distant blue world. Sometimes the best way to handle a predator is to offer it something better to do than hunt.